It's not selfish. It's the highest act of love. So, as you know, if you've been listening to any of my stuff, I'm a father. I'm the father of 2 beautiful babies. My daughter Lexi, my son Connor. And I always wanted to be a father. I know I'm odd in that aspect, but from a very, very early age, I always knew what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to play basketball, I wanted to go into business, and I wanted to be a father. From like 15, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. In what aspects and how that would play out, I had no idea. But this is what I always knew. And yet, I was not prepared for how incredible a gift it is to be a father. It is honestly the greatest blessing I have ever had in my life. And it is one that I think every person should experience. And I know there are plenty of people who don't want kids, and that is fine. But honestly, I cannot fathom a greater gift, a greater blessing in my life than my 2 kids. There is nothing better than it. And I was not prepared for how much joy and how much happiness this would bring me, how much love and fulfillment and satisfaction being a father would bring me. And the other side of it that I was not prepared for, and I don't think anyone ever is, and it doesn't matter how many people tell you, but how full on and exhausting it is. I was having a conversation with some clients the other day, and we were talking about it, and they were talking about how hard being a parent is. And I was like, the problem with it all is, though, that it is only hard for good parents. It is only, and I'll say that again, because it shook, but also helped my client when we said this. And I was like, parenting is only difficult for good parents. If you just want to phone it in and you want to sedate your child and you want to just let them have whatever they want and do whatever they want and be whatever, it's still not a cakewalk, but it's certainly easier. Being a great parent is a very difficult and daunting task, and one that I think if you're doing it properly, you will question every single day whether you're doing a good job or not. Because it's a lot. It is a lot. And raising little humans to be the best versions of themselves is a full-on task. But it's the most worthwhile task. As I said, like, I cannot fathom a greater joy in my life than doing this, than being a father. There is nothing, and I literally mean nothing, that brings me as much joy and pleasure as being a father, spending time with my kids, and that is the greatest gift I've ever been given. But it is no small feat. It is no easy task. It is non-stop. It is full on. It is tiring as hell, and it never ends. And yet it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So the question came up, and obviously I'm going to have a take on this. And I hear it a lot where people are like, well, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time for fitness because, I'm giving my all to my kids. And I was like, that is the most noble cause. That is, as I said, like, being there and being a good parent is the greatest thing you can do with your life, in my opinion. That there is nothing that giving that way feels better than. However, that doesn't give you the right to not look after you. it is actually a disservice to your children to not look after your own health. And I've had this conversation, and I'll probably have it for as long as I do this, where people are like, oh, well, I don't have time to work out because I'm giving everything to my kids. And I was like, I understand that. And that is beautiful and it is noble. But you are letting them down by not being in shape. And that's harsh. And it hurts people and it upsets them. But it is the truth. That you are letting them down and you are failing them by not being in the best possible shape that you can be. And I firmly believe that it is not a selfish act to block out time for yourself to exercise, to look after yourself in that fashion. In fact, it is one of the highest forms of love. Because imagine you've got a cup, right? And in that cup is your energy allocation for the day, how much you can give to the world. Now, if you are only ever a giver, and I know lots of people like this, especially mums, but also dads, who are just givers, and they never stop for them. They never stop to take the time for them. They just give and they give and they give. As I said, it's beautiful, and it's an incredibly selfless act. But at the same point, you are doing a disservice to your children. Or anyone, for that matter. It doesn't just have to be kids. But, you're doing a disservice to your kids, to your wife, to your friends and family, to those you serve, if you are always sacrificing yourself for them. If you are not looking after you. Because if you only give, you are constantly depleting your cup. You are constantly depleting your resources. And it means that you cannot give at your highest level. You cannot give your best because you've depleted yourself. And it's why we have the saying that the king eats first. Because you have to look after you. If you're constantly giving from an ever-depleting pie, then you're going to give less and less. And then you are not serving whoever it is. Your wife, your kids, your family, your friends, all that kind of stuff, to the highest level. You are not serving them as well as you could or should. And that is a problem. And that is where you are letting them down. And you have to do better. And that's why I say it and I mean it when I say that working out, making time, blocking it out for you is the highest act of love. Especially for your children. Because you have to lead by example. So it's not just the energy levels. It's not just feeling good. It's not just health. It's not just showing up as the best version of yourself. It's not just mental refreshing. It's not just the hormones that are released, so endorphins and dopamine and all that kind of stuff. It's not just taking a step back to be present with yourself. It's also leading by example. What are you showing to your kids? If you just give and you give and you give and you give, that's a beautiful thing. But also you're teaching them that they should sacrifice their happiness. They should sacrifice everything that they have for other people. You're showing them that being unhealthy is okay. You're teaching them habits that will last a lifetime. That we as adults are spending the time, effort, money to undo the habits that we learnt as children. So imagine you could set your children up that straight off the bat, from the earliest stage, that they have the healthy habits. They choose and look at eating healthy as just eating, not a punishment, not a sacrifice, not anything like that. It's just eating. Eating good food is how you eat. End of story. That exercising is just what you do. End of story. Then you don't have to overcome these things. You don't have to battle against these ingrained habits and core beliefs and things. You just do. Talk about a gift to your children. that they never have to undo the damages that are inadvertently caused by you not being in shape. You know, if you can provide them the best footing possible to start with, and the best footing possible starts with health and fitness. We know this. It is the halo effect. It is one of the biggest indicators of success, is being in good health and fitness. So if you gift that to your children straight off the bat, that's where they start life. Talk about a leg up. And then on top of that, look at where society is today. Look at where we are at. That they estimate by 2030, 2 out of 3 children will be obese. And that 2 out of 3 adults will be chronically obese. Think about that as a statistic. Then if you show up as fit, strong, healthy, and that's just normal, that's what your children expect. They just think that's what everybody does. The gift that you give them, and the gift that you give yourself as well, to separate you from others, to show up as a better version of yourself, to stand out from the crowd, and then you pass that along to them. The advantages that they will have, that they will be separated from their peers already. They will be so far ahead. And then on top of that, what does exercise teach? What does it instill into them? It instills discipline. It instills grit. It instills follow through. It instills focus. It instills growth. It instills hard work. It instills delayed gratification. Like, all the things that are required for a great life. And you've just taught them naturally. That you don't have to force things upon them. They just innately gravitate towards them. They innately pick it up because, well, that's just what Dad did his entire life. You know, granted, my children are still very young. You know, my daughter is 3 and my son is 2. But they already love working out. They already want to come and work out with Daddy. They love when we do it. They think the gym equipment's a toy, that it's just a part of it. And they are strong as hell. You know, we do workouts where our driveway's probably, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, something like that, and steep. And we do weighted carries up and down that driveway. And my daughter runs with it. My daughter carries 6 kilos, 8 kilos, 12 kilos. She can deadlift 24 kilos. She's 3. You know? Strength and ability and all these kinds of things are just innately given, and she doesn't think it's weird. It's not that I have to force her to do anything. She just wants to be like Daddy. She just wants to be strong like Daddy and do what Daddy's doing. So it just becomes normal. It just becomes natural. And then that transitions into these other skills that she develops earlier. She is a great swimmer. She's great at climbing. She's great at jumping. She's great at all these kinds of things that just become normal and built into who she is as a person. Because I set that standard. And as I've said to you before, I am, by no stretch of the imagination, a perfect man. I am a deeply, deeply flawed human being who's on a journey to chase perfection. I'm chasing greatness, to be the greatest version I can be. And that includes being the greatest man, father, and husband I can be. And this is a journey that I'm undertaking. But I know that I am giving this gift to my kids. That they will be better for it. Because they don't have to overcome those things that I had to overcome. It'll just be built into it. And that's why I firmly believe that it is not selfish to put yourself first. It is not selfish to work out and eat healthy and do those kinds of things. It is a selfless act. It is the gift that keeps on giving to your kids. It is a gift that you must pass on to them. Otherwise, you're depriving your children of that gift, of that greatest, an abundant gift that will serve them for their entire life. And we as parents should be, if we were going to sacrifice things, if we're going to sacrifice ourselves for our children, we need to sacrifice the things that A, don't serve us, and B, don't serve them. So we need to sacrifice dopamine chasing. We need to sacrifice things that aren't good for them. Sugar, processed carbs, TV, screen time, these kinds of things. We need to set the example. And what I always think of is, I imagine what my kids would look like. Imagine if they had the life that I have right now. Would I be pleased with that? Would I be happy for them? And if the answer isn't a resounding, triumphant, fuck yes, then I need to do better. I need to change something. I need to adjust something and make better choices in my life. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again, that you will be your daughter's first love and your son's first hero. So you set the standards of what they view those things as. So your daughter will compare every man against you. And whether you're a positive influence or a negative influence on her life will also determine if she's gravitated towards men like you or away from men like you. But you will be her first love, and she will determine the men that she picks based on that. And you'll be your son's first hero. And he will either aspire to be like you and better than you, or to run away from that. Again, depends on how you negatively or positively set up the relationship with your son. But these are things that I think about when I'm making choices of, how is this going to impact my children? How is this choice going to impact them? And the question then is, what will it bring me? What can I gain from this? And will I regret the decisions? Will I reach a point down the track where I look back and go, fuck, I fucked that up for my kids. That was my fault. That was on me. Or will I be ecstatic and pleased and grateful for the difficult choices I made along the way, because I sacrificed the right things for my kids so that they could have the most incredible life? I know you are already sacrificing for them. I know that you're already putting them first and consistently choosing them first. Well, now choose you first for them. Now choose yourself first for them. Because you have to look after you. You have to look after your health, your fitness, your energy, and lead by example to show them what is possible. And that's what's required. That is what is required in this life, so that you can be the best version of yourself. So I hope that it sinks in. I hope that you can see that the king eats first is a serious thing. And it's an important task. So that's all I have for you. Now, if you took value from it, if you benefited from it, if you took note of it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Send it to someone who could, needs to hear this and realizes that they need to do this for their children as well. Next, if you're ready to take the next step forward into being the best version of yourself, please click the link in my bio. Grab my top 10 tools to build mental toughness. And lastly, if you know that you need to lead by example, if you know that you need to show how it is done and how to live a life that is great, to be the best version, to be the healthiest, fittest, strongest version of yourself, please shoot me a message. Let's get you into the Greatness Club, into the 30-day Greatness Club challenge, and see who you can be through the application of doing this work. But until then,